Welcome once again to episode 3, Ray and Nev Show.
Yep.
What's up, Nev?
What's up, man? How you been?
Are we going to talk about why are we recording this episode again?
Since you brought it up, we have to re-record this episode because the first time somebody messed up on the audio, so we might as well just talk about the whole thing over, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. I think it's an important topic. I think it's an important topic. It's super important.
Definitely.
Actually, I've got a story. I'm glad that episode didn't air because I wouldn't be able to tell the story that I'm telling today because this just happened a couple of days ago.
All right.
So today's topics, for those of you who are out there, this is for realtors, is contracts. And we're not talking about as-is contracts. We're not talking about buyer contract. We're talking about your contract. What does your contract say? What's important in the contract? What do you need to know? What should you be looking for? So we're going to go through all those steps and we're going to determine what is the best way to preview your contract and what kind of contract you should have.
Yep.
Okay. And mind you, there's a ton of real estate companies out there. They all have different contracts. Their contracts are good. It is all going to depend on what you're looking for. If it fits your needs, you're good to go. But there's certain don'ts that you want to make sure you don't bypass on a contract or that you don't not see on there and not ask about. So I'll talk about the first one and I'll give the first story and we'll go from there. So about a few days ago, I had an agent who reached out to me, wants to join La Rosa. And I always tell the agent, let me go ahead and preview your contract. Let me see your contract and let me see exactly what your exit clause of the contract is. Lo and behold, I'm telling you right now, like 90% of these contracts don't have a cancellation clause.
Okay, that's good.
So you know what that does? What, you think it's good?
That's good for the agent, right?
Hell no. Sucks for the agent. It gives the broker all the right to all the commissions. So what happens is you close on a deal, but you left the company. It is up to the broker and it's up to his discretion legally to pay you or not pay you. So anyway, I reviewed the contract. I saw that. So that was a red flag to me. And I told him to ask his broker. And do you want to hear the broker's response?
What do you say?
Okay. All listings or buyers that are currently under contract are properties of mine. No matter about all the hard work you put in to get them, none of that. And then he says this is the crazy part. I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think the audience is ready for this. And all active listings stay with me because they belong to me as well.
Wow.
And then he proceeded to go over to the contract and show the agent where it says it on the contract. So I'm like, okay.
How many agents do you think know this?
I guarantee you none. I know I never looked for anything like that in my contract when I first started with the company that I started with. And I did when I came to La Rosa. I wanted to know, listen, I don't plan on leaving, but if I did, what's my exit clause? What's my, what's going to happen? And we clearly have it in our contracts. And we've had it. We've always had it in our contract. So if you leave and you have active listings, you take them with you. That's yours. And if you don't, well, let's say you leave and you have pending offers or pending contracts. If that happens, then when it closes, the broker has the right to charge you up to 30%. Okay? Now, I've seen worse contracts and I've seen better contracts. 30% is not bad, but just understand it's to the sole discretion of that broker for that office to determine if they want to charge you that or not. I've charged it in some cases. In other cases, I haven't. But I will tell you this, and I want to be perfectly clear. I'd rather have a clause that lets me know, hey, if I leave, this is what I'm going to be paying, as opposed to not have a clause and then leave it up to the broker whether he wants to pay me or not. I don't agree with that.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So you don't have to guess how much money you're going to be leaving on the table if you walked away from your brokerage.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, let's say you have multiple deals that you're going to be going into, but you have two pending deals, and you know you're going to lose 30%, but you're going to a 100% firm like La Rosa, and you know you're going to be making 100% of that money, so you'll make it back up on those deals that you're, you know, getting ready to put on the contract with your new brokerage. But then that previous contract, if it doesn't have a exit clause, then at the end of the day you're kind of like saying, hey, I'm giving up all this money.
True.
As you well, you know my story. I gave up $24,000 when I made my move. I didn't think my broker was going to do me that way. Now this is the crazy part. um, Whatever your split is, technically you can go and fight for it. Um, but you have to make a case, and then the broker has to make their case. But when there's an exit clause and a brokerage does things right, I think that that's what I want to work for. I want to work for a brokerage that says, listen, you come here, you love us, great. If you don't, you want to leave, we'll make sure that you leave. You can take all everything that you have that's active, and anything that's pending, we'll close it for you and we'll take 30%. At least we're letting you know honestly up front what we're taking. Other brokerages are not doing that. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's fair. Again, it's so you can kind of know what you're leaving on the table. You're not guessing like, is my broker going to keep 70%, 80%, maybe 90%? Who knows?
Well, so my question to you is, are you saying, do you prefer to have the clause or no?
Um, I prefer to have a clause that lets me know how much I'm leaving behind.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. And what would you look on the contract? Like when you go to a brokerage, other than the contract, well, let's continue on the contract topic. Um, what else would you like to see on that contract?
I mean, obviously, my percentage split, um, how much my monthly dues are, how much my yearly dues are, of course, how much I'm going to be leaving on the table if I do leave the brokerage. Am I going to be leaving listings behind? Does he hold on to my buyers as well? What happens to my entire network? Do they own that? But then also, if I have a team, can I bring the team with me?
Yeah, so portability is important. So let's touch on
Portability,
all
yeah.
those topics. So obviously, if you join a company and you have buyers that you brought to the company, yeah, you should be able to take them with you, no matter where you work. I think that should be fair. That's the fair way to see it. Now, if they give you that customer and you decide to take that customer, I think you should always pay a referral back. Whatever the split was supposed to be when the customer was given to you, you should pay it
Mhm.
back, especially to brokerage, even if you're no longer there. So, um, in regards to the team aspect, ooh, you know, we just talked about this recently in the last podcast, how, you know, Robert Palmer came out against EXP, and he, you know, he's the broker. Well, I don't know if he's a broker. I know he's the owner of LPT, but he discussed that. He discussed portability. He discussed that if you leave, should you be able to take your team with you? My guess is you should.
Absolutely. If you built
Uh,
them, why wouldn't you want it? Why wouldn't you want to have the ability to take them with you to continue growing your team somewhere else?
well,
That's
I think
beneficial for everybody.
the biggest issue, think about it like this, right? So, like, somebody joins a brokerage and they're brand new, they're not thinking 5 years into the future.
This is true.
So, that's the best time for a broker to take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, it's the best time because you don't know anything. You're very naive. You don't know the business. And obviously, in my case, I was taken advantage of. In, you know, your case, you got lucky. You came to La Rosa very quickly. You know, but there's a lot of agents uh, that I'm super happy for, that they joined and started with La Rosa and are still here at La Rosa because they understand the value of going to a company that it's not just 100%. It's so much more, because to give you a contract that's so clean cut and so clear, to give you the support, right? And then on top of it, 5 years down the road, you decide to build a team, give you the ability to say, hey, I want to go ahead and build my own thing. I want to take my team with me. Well, guess what? You can take them. Wait. Do I have to wait a year? Nope. Do I have to wait 6 months? Nope. When can I take them? You could take them as soon as you go. You know, I had, so just to talk about this is not something we're just saying. This is something that's actually real, right? Obviously, we know, you know, the story of Frank, the story of Rodney, and the story of Stephanie. All three started here, built teams here, and moved on to open up their own successful branches of the company, and they're doing great. You know, but those are very important points that you need to look at the contract. Because you don't know. At first, you get excited. Everybody's calling you, but at the end of the day, if they don't, if 5 years down the road, you grow, you build an amazing team, and now you get ready to take them to build your own thing, and now you can't even take them.
That
You know,
sucks.
it's a lot of people that signed a contract like that. So, and it's horrible. I mean, I think the portability for EXP now is 2 years,
Oh, really?
and you can't even take your team. Before they used to at least let you take your team.
Okay, I mean that's something. It's better than just like you can never have these people again. But then how do they know like these people just didn't follow you? What's to define that I took my team and I told my team I'm leaving, but if you want to come, you can come.
Well, I mean, the ability to get around those kind of rules are there. Do you really want to go around them? I think I'd rather go to a company that I don't have to worry about, you know, tiptoeing around a company, so that way I can get what I deserve, what I actually created. Because it's not like I'm taking your people. I brought them to the company. I put them on my team. I built them. You know, I should reap the rewards of continuing to watch them grow. The honor of having them on my team and watch them grow. The honor of being part of their journey. And the fact that a contract with a different brokerage is going to take that away from me, I really don't want to. I really don't want to deal with it. I really don't. I think that, and I'm not saying La Rosa is the only company that has a clear, clean cut contract. Yeah, we have 9-page contract. I think it is just like everyone else. But there's some people that have a 20, 30-page contract, and the fine print is inside the mumbo jumbo that they put in the contract, so you can't even see it. What do you think about that?
I think that's kind of messed up to try to hide something in like legal jargon. You can't really understand what's happening in your contract. Surprisingly so, when I signed up to La Rosa, I actually read all 9 pages.
I'm glad you did.
I read it completely and I was like,
Now,
okay,
when
I'm
you started
comfortable
with
with
La
it.
Rosa, did we still have the old contract that was like 2 pages or 3 pages?
I really couldn't tell you if it was 9 or 2, but I know I read the whole thing
Okay.
because Carlos gave it to me and I brought it home. And I was like, you know what? I should probably read this before I tell my current broker that I'm leaving.
Okay. And what did you think when you read it?
It was simple, easy to understand. And the same exact day, I called my broker and was like, hey, are you going to be in the office around 1 o'clock? Because I wanted to tell him in person that I was leaving. And I went right back to La Rosa probably around like 2 o'clock to sign up.
Yeah, it's crazy because did he meet with you?
Yeah, he met with me.
Yeah, usually they don't. Like when
Yeah.
I left, he didn't even want to meet with me. He just leave your keys and farewell, pretty much. Like he was upset that I
Well, he
left.
didn't know I was leaving. I just called him to see if he was going to be in the office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was different.
No, the broker I was working for, he knew I was leaving. He was the one that made that decision for me. I went to him. I asked him. I already had put in some hard work with him. Been with him for a few years, and asked for some things, and I was very reasonable. And he didn't want to. He didn't want to reciprocate. So I said, okay, I have to make a decision for me and my family. And the best decision for me and my family was to move to a company that I had the freedom to build the business the way I did. And luckily, I chose La Rosa. Now, mind you, I did meet with a few companies. I met with a lot of companies. And La Rosa was just one that I felt was it just gave me the most freedom to do things the way I wanted. Obviously within the guidelines of being a good real estate broker and a real estate agent and an honest one. But it was a great transition. Losing 24,000, going to the company that gave me a 75% raise. I was happy.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about what things you expect from the brokerage that you signed the contract with.
I expect support, education, access, resources. And when I say access, it's like sometimes you'll see people who go to brokerages and they can never talk to their brokers.
Yeah.
Or even they don't even have an office to go into. So it's like if they want to meet with a client, they're stuck meeting with a client at, I don't know, Starbucks or
Starbucks,
Panera.
Foxtail, Panera
Yeah,
Bread. I totally understand.
anywhere that there's free Wi-Fi, basically.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And virtual offices are good and all. And some people have built their business on that platform, cloud-based companies and stuff. But brick and mortar is always going to be best for meeting a customer, talking to a customer, discussing things with a customer, and to be able to have access to your broker is very important. I think it is. I mean, obviously, you see how I treat this office, but I don't know. I think throughout every office at La Rosa, yeah, I could probably like I'm thinking of all the brokers, right? And like anyone you talk about, you probably can say, "Oh yeah, I could pop in and say what's up." You popped in and
Exactly.
said what's up to Ricky, Andres,
Yep.
Norkeys, Rodney, Frank. Frank was on the podcast.
Yeah.
He was the first one to bring wine on the podcast. So for those of you, if we invite you to the show, you got to up one Frank because Frank brought wine. Was he selling the wine? What was it?
I feel like he was trying to sell it to us like it was a free sample.
So, I don't know if Frank is sponsored by wine. All I know is
I believe
he
it.
was selling us on the label. He told us everything
The
about
name
the
of
wine.
it, everything.
Yeah, yeah. He knew too much about that.
Way
damn
too
wine.
much.
It was good though. It was good wine. It was good wine. But yeah, that's important. It's super important that we make sure that we're looking at all those aspects when we move into a company because your career is long. I mean, I've been in the business since 2006. I've been with La Rosa since 2011. Going on 12 years with the company. That's a really long time. And looking back, if I would have went, okay, so not to call no companies out there. I just want to call out contracts, right? If I would have went at the company um, that I read their contract this past day, about 2 days ago. Um, if I was there, I was like, okay, I could never leave, because we always keep 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 listings at one point. At one point, can I leave? I can't
Mm-hmm.
because I leave all this business behind. And then you have to think about another step. What about the customer? Are they going to be able to treat the customer the way I treated the customer or my team
I
treated
doubt
the
it.
customer? Exactly. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that you got to, pay attention to. So when you're out there and you're trying to pick a brokerage, just look at all those factors. Sit down, write a list of what you're looking for in a real estate company and make sure that it has those things. I'll tell you one thing, right? So here's one thing that we don't have. We don't give you leads. You want to touch on that?
No, I mean, we don't give you leads for a simple reason. I mean, it's two things you could do for a person, right? You could teach them how to fish or you could give them the fish. And we'll much rather try to teach you how to fish.
Why not just give them the fishes? We
Uh,
make more money that way.
Definitely would be making money, but we've seen that a lot of brokerages would try to hold their agents because they're scared to leave because they don't know how to hunt.
Yep.
They don't know how to fish. They don't know how to farm their farm areas, basically.
Yeah. No. So let me ask you a question. If somebody was to build a team within La Rosa and they were the fishermen and agents wanted by choice to join their team, would you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that's a good thing because it's the freedom. The freedom is there to choose.
The freedom of choice. No, and I
Absolutely.
agree. Listen, there's a lot of team-based companies out there where it's just a huge team, one name, and they're very successful. I have friends that do a phenomenal job in that model, and I admire them, and I don't knock it because there are agents, even from our company, we notice there's agents that prefer to be fed the fish.
Yep.
And that's a beautiful part. You get to choose whether you're fed the fish or not. And then you get to choose if you want to learn how to fish. Learning how to fish is the hardest thing in real estate, which obviously is getting leads and prospecting and going to find the business. Once you learn that part of it, or you master that part of the business, the rest is easy. You can learn contracts. You can learn everything else. Um, but that's one of the parts of the business that you're like, oh, how do I do this? and not many people are wanting to teach you that.
Nope, not at
But
all.
we do at La Rosa, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, do it now. I want you to touch on that, and I want you to tell me what's that all about.
So do it now is kind of like a class, a seminar, maybe, but it's more or less like a day, or it's actually 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, it depends on when you took it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I took it, it was 4 days.
Okay.
Then he was able to skim it down to 3. But keep in mind, it was 4 intense days, and every day, whatever he gave us in the class, we would have to
We implement.
we would implement that day.
Yeah, exactly.
In class before we left.
So I would say do it now is one of those things that you go to and you just guarantee results every single time. Everybody's always skeptical when they go there, and then when they leave with high energy. Oh, I have all these leads, and everybody who didn't go, they're like, oh, they gave you leads? No, they showed you how to get leads.
They teach you how to fish, and that's literally how pretty much every office is ran. Because we have Joe who does the do it now at least once or twice a year. I know that he's going to try to do it every quarter, but he's got a lot on his plate. But the beautiful thing is he's got a lot of leaders behind him that can be there to support him in that sense. And that's what I loved about Do It Now. I mean, I remember I went to my first Do It Now when the company had, at that point, we didn't even have 1,000 agents yet. So he believed in the program and he just kept doing it. And there's not a funny story. It's actually a sad story behind that. But yeah, we'll leave that for another day. Just keep watching and I'll tell that story one day. So that being said, Nev, what questions do you have that you should ask a broker that are very important that you know before you sign the contract?
Before you sign a contract, the first thing you want to ask your broker is, are there any transaction fees that's going to be attached to any of my transactions? Because a lot of companies will do it's 100%, and then they charge you $900 transaction fee every transaction.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen some companies that do that. They'll charge $395 to the customer and still charge $395 to you. And you're like, wait up, you made me get it from the customer and I got to pay it from my pocket as well.
So, funny story. So, my parents just sold a home in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And we closed last Friday. So, I'm looking at the Alta statement and I see a transaction fee, and then I see a brokerage transaction fee. And I asked him, like, why are there two different fees here? Combined, it added up to like $700.
Goddamn.
I'm like, why are there two transactions? And I 100% feel like he BS'd me, but then also I do know that he worked really hard in his transaction, so I was going to let him get his money. It wasn't, crazy.
Well, you're a realtor. You always want to, support other realtors.
So I didn't pressure him about it, but I asked him about it, and the first one was, okay, this is a transaction fee for us to hold your documents for X amount of years, because in Philadelphia you have to do that.
Which is us.
Understandable.
Same thing we have.
Yeah. And then the second one was, oh, this is a transaction fee for me because I was the one doing the transaction. And in my head, I'm like, you're the agent. You're supposed to be.
Correct. So you could have set an extra $300 or whatever.
It was like an additional $300.
To each his own.
Yeah.
But listen, he did, like you said, he did a great job. He worked hard. Wasn't an easy transaction from my understanding.
It was not.
And, Philadelphia does real estate upside down. I heard that too.
Yes.
So, good thing we don't do real estate in Philadelphia.
What? They don't even give you your final numbers until after you sign the closing to make sure that the dates on closing doesn't change, so they calculate it after closing.
Wow.
So you still have an estimate on your Alta.
So your actual Alta is an estimate.
Yes.
It's not actuals.
Not actual.
Not like Florida.
No. Yep.
Yeah. We won't talk about what kind of city that is. I'm just saying. The city of
I wonder what color they are.
And wait up, real quick.
I was talking red or blue when I said what color.
Yeah, no. Also, yeah, we definitely got to clarify that. They're also green because they're Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
So shout out to Louis on this.
Oh yeah.
I could be a jerk and just be like, "Go Eagles," and then they'll lose next week. I could do that, but I won't. I think they have a good chance to go up against San Francisco. But in regards to real estate as a whole, what are the questions you think are important?
Are we talking about transactions, or are we talking about like education?
So you're sitting down with a broker. You're in an interview, and the broker's asking you, "Well, why should I hire you?" And you give your points on why you should be hired. energetic, you're motivated, you're ready to kill it, and then now you're asking the broker questions because the broker is like, okay, you look like you might be a good fit for us, and then you turn around and you start asking questions. Well, let me make sure you guys are a good fit for me, because I don't think agents understand the power that they have when they go into a brokerage. Because brokerages are going to be knocking on your door. You got a pulse, you got a real estate license, we'll hire you. In my case, I don't see it that way. I would like to hire agents that have either a potential to continue to grow in a real estate business that they already have, or the potential to want to be brand new and want to learn the business the right way. Um, that's the two people that I look for in hiring.
Yeah.
What do you look for as a brokerage? Like, what do you ask the broker? What else are you asking the broker that concerns how is it going to benefit you to work at this company?
So it always comes down to education. Anytime I spoke to any other brokerage, they always said, "Oh yeah, we have a great education plan." Okay, walk me through that. I'm a new agent. What do I do now? What's my very next step? And what's the step after that? And after that? And after that? And after that? Because it's really important. Because at the end of the day, a lot of new agents, they don't understand that they're self-employed now. They don't have someone that's telling them you need to do this between this hours and these hours.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it came down to education, I didn't need someone to tell me I need to do this at 12 o'clock and I need to do this at 1 and 2 and 3. I had someone that sat me down and said, you need to create a schedule for yourself. You need to tell yourself what you're going to be doing at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 until the end of the day.
And then, so you're the type of person, because keep in mind, everybody's different. You're the type of person who's like, just tell me how I should build my schedule as opposed to give me my schedule.
Absolutely.
But my question is, does La Rosa do both?
Absolutely. So I've had seasoned agents actually just give me a copy of their schedule and say, hey, follow that. I'm a top producer. Follow it. You'll become a top producer. And then I've also had actually that same agent tell me, you know what? The schedule doesn't look like it's working for you.
Yep.
Go ahead and tweak it to fit how your clients are working, because at the end of the day, we're kind of working around our clients' time. Because if they're at work, if they have kids,
Yep.
if they're in school, we kind of have to accommodate them a little bit, right?
A lot of people get into the business, right? And now that you say that, and they get into the business and they say, well, I did it for freedom.
Oh, when you're self-employed, there's no freedom. You're your worst boss. You're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You don't even regulate yourself.
Yeah. Some days you don't even send yourself to lunch.
Yeah, that happened today.
Exactly.
Today. So, okay. And what else do you look for? I mean, is brick and mortar important to you?
In certain aspects, it definitely is. Me personally, I really can't work from home. It's too many distractions around. It's way too easy to go lay on the couch to watch TV, sit on the balcony or something like that. But yeah, brick and mortar is important.
Smoke a good cigar.
Smoke a good cigar,
Yeah, I got you.
light up the hookah, all that good stuff. But it's also very important because I like to have my clients come in. I like to give them the feel of our office. So I bring my clients in. I like to give them a tour, let them know, hey, this is a legitimate office that we have here.
Yeah, it's here. It's not going nowhere.
Even though I'm not selling them the office.
Oh,
but
and it's
like,
crazy because
it's a nice area to talk to them.
The beautiful thing is it's been here long enough where people be like, yeah, that office has been there for a while.
Yeah.
So. And I think that's important. That's important. What else do you think is important? So we've got education. Obviously, brick and mortar is more important to you than going virtual. What else do you? You did say access to the broker, which we discussed that.
So that's really important because when I was scheduling to interview different offices in the beginning of my career, I kind of judged the brokerages by how hard it was to schedule an appointment with the broker.
Got it.
So I'm not going to lie. When I first called La Rosa, there was a little issue with scheduling just because they kind of wanted me to go to Celebration. I'm like, I live in Apopka. Why would I do that? And instantly, I do remember who I was talking to. It was Laverne. Laverne was like, oh, we have an office close to Apopka. When can you get in there? And I told her the date, and she's like, okay, I'll call Carlos and I'll set it up.
And then you sat down with Carlos.
Yes.
All right. Shout out to Carlos Bonilla. Great job, Carlos. He did a great job with you too. You want to tell that story?
So I was a little skeptical. I'm like, nah, there's no way this company offers all this stuff and this is all they're asking of me, transaction fee and a $50 monthly due.
Yeah,
I'm like, nah, this I'm like, nah, this is too good to be true. First day I went in there, uh, Carlos actually called me into his office and we sat down, and he was just like, okay, so what do you want to do? Like, how are you going to get your clients? And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know what am I supposed to do. And he's like, you ever made cold calls before? I'm like, no. And that was funny because when I was with my old brokerage before Carlos, I had went to my broker and I said, hey, I think I want to do cold calls. And my broker said, who the hell are you going to call? You got any numbers? And I was like, no. He was like, man, so who you going to call? And that was the end of the conversation.
That sucks.
And Carlos, he was like, you ever cold called? And I said, no, I've never done it. And he's like, okay, there's an agent in the bullpen. He does cold calls. Go talk to him. He's really friendly. He'll show you how to do it.
All right, for the real estate agents that are brand new that don't know what a bullpen is, explain that and what the aspect
Oh,
of a bullpen is at La Rosa.
so the bullpen in La Rosa is actually like a shared workspace. So there's computers. You could bring your own computer, but it's basically one large room that has all the Wi-Fi and computer setups and a printer, and you can work out of there for
Okay,
free.
perfect. And
So
then obviously you have other office space, but continue.
yeah.
So you
So he sends me in there. He introduced me to the agent. I wish I knew this agent's name. And at that time, he was actually calling for listings. And this guy, he straight up just he has this huge list. He just splits it in half. He's like, "Here, call this side of it." And I'm
okay?
like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know what to say. He was like, "Just make the first call." He heard me stutter through it, and then he went through and said, "All right, say this, like this, and like this." And I called like maybe five more numbers, and the fifth number, it was so crazy. I get to it, the guy answers, we're talking, and I get to the end of like what I know. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. This guy was selling land. And he just jumps in. The agent that was helping me, he jumps in, and this guy just closes the deal.
Yeah,
Like that fast. I'm like, what? So
super
making
easy.
calls works.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
were
that's
discussing
something.
that today too.
Huh?
So we are discussing that today too about
Absolutely,
calls
yeah.
versus door knocking. I
And
mean, there's
that was my
so
first
many.
experience I've ever had with calls, and that's also why I stand by it so much, because I'm like, wow, it really does work. It's just you have to
Well,
make the calls.
my experience was it was with Bob Armstrong.
Okay.
He was over in Celebration at the
He's a
time in
great
Altima.
speaker.
He's great on the freaking. He's great on the phones too. So I was talking to him and I was like, "Hey Bob, you making phone calls today?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm making phone calls." And you know, me being the cocky little man that I am, I decided I wanted to compete against him. So we started making phone calls, and man, I was listening to Bob, and he was so good. And this is the beautiful thing about La Rosa. Like, you get to meet top producers before you're even a top producer, and you know these people are at the top, but they're so humble and so willing to help you. So same thing with Bob. He gave me access to Mike Ferry because that's who he was coaching with, and we literally got down and started making phone calls. I was horrible, horrible. Probably the worst caller you'll ever heard in your life. But I kept going at it, kept pushing, kept getting coaching from Bob, and eventually, fast forward to my career, I joined the Mike Ferry organization for 3 years. Built a pretty cool, pretty strong team. Um, you know, got with some great coaches, some mentors. One of my mentors was David Long. Shout out to you, David. I'll never forget you. Uh, you helped me get to where I am now. And then Bob, I mean, what else can I say about him? He was the one that got me in the door, and still with the company, still closing a ton of deals, and still doing a lot of beautiful things for the company. So you know, there's a lot of family members that have been here a lot longer than me and still love working at La Rosa Realty because of everything we have to offer. Like you said, um, it's just a pretty, how do I say it? It's what we stand for. The family passion growth is huge. So,
So,
um,
funny thing about Bob Armstrong. So he used to have this video about like listing presentations.
oh yeah,
I don't know if it's still up on YouTube. So that video, actually, I watched it a million times, and I've probably got like most of my listings because of that
yeah,
video. I tweaked it a little bit, obviously, because they're older videos, but
yeah.
still, like because of that video.
Yeah, he was really good at coaching and teaching, and I'm not sure if he's still coaching. I mean, I know he stepped away from it for a minute, but I'm telling you, he's been with the company. I don't even know how long it's been, but you know, he was a branch manager in 2011. Oh, that's his stats right there. Look at that. Well, he does REO. That's one thing. I remember he used to get a ton of REOs. Um,
Since
branch manager.
2011.
Yeah, that's when
He's
he
been
became
with
the
us.
branch manager. But he was with the company in 2008.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, and mind you, I had started 2 years before him, and he still had more knowledge than me because once again, going back to a brokerage that teaches you how to fish versus a brokerage that feeds you the fish. I was
Mm,
being fed the fish. So when I came over, I was like brand new. I
yeah.
didn't know what to do. So that
And
being said, I mean, Bob, shout out to you, to all of you realtors out there that are brand new, that are trying to look for a brokerage. I'm not saying interview with us. I'm just saying make sure that you set up a list of interview questions that you want to know. So we're going to give you the top three. I'm going to give you my top three, and then I'm going to let you give me your top three. Nev.
all right.
So my top three: longevity of the contract, the split on the contract, and the exit clause. What is my exit clause? What if I'm not happy working here? I'm kicking ass. I close a ton of deals, and I want to leave the company, build my own thing, and now I find out I've got 3, 4, 10 million under contract that I'm possibly going to lose the money for, which I almost had almost a full million under contract to lose $24,000. Actually, that was at 25%. So you're looking at about $4 million worth of business that I left on the table when I left. But I made the decision to leave, and the broker made the decision to keep my commission. So
Yep.
there was no exit clause. What about your top three?
My top three is honestly it's going to be the exit clause. What's the education that you offer,
Yeah, that's important.
and obviously splits.
Okay.
That's really important to me.
Yeah, split's important. Definitely important because, if they have a tier system, obviously the more you learn, the less you have to pay and go from there. I mean, I always say, once I know everything, why do I need to keep paying you 30, 40, 50%? Well, there has to be value added to that. Whatever value's added to that, I'm okay with.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So I'm okay with paying 70, 60, even 50% as long as the value is there.
Yeah.
Because
Makes
we all
sense.
know the same thing that they tell most 100% agents. 100% of zero is zero.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
if you're showing me how to fish, you're doing all this marketing for me, you're doing all the print, all the advertising and things like that for me, and it makes sense to be paying 60%. I
Yeah.
mean, well, 40% actually, but I keep it
Yeah.
60. But I'm paying 40%. That's fine.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I mean, I was happy with what I was making because the volume was there. I was making good money. I didn't do much in regards to the things that most agents did, but I was also left crippled because at the time when I made the decision I wanted to go, I found out that this business is not that easy, and literally just got stuck. And I didn't close anything for 6 months at La Rosa, but when I did, boy, did that chick look so good. So, that being said, definitely ask those questions. If this is of help, let us know. If you have any other questions about being a realtor, what you should be looking for, what should you be doing your first 30 days in the business, you know, give us a call. Just put a comment down low. If you like what you hear, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that way when we do a new video, which we're going to be doing them every week, um, we would love to have you listen to the video. So that being said, um, just know that last week's video, we weren't able to download it because somebody forgot to,
This guy.
do the mics. That's right. He said that guy. All right. So thank you so much for watching,
All
and
right.
have a great one.
Until next time.